Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Sammy wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, playing an untapped Sacred Foundry and taking 2. He taps it for a white for Guide of Souls. Jan plays a Shockland with a tapped Blood Crypt, passing. Max plays a Glittering Massif, which comes in tapped, and ships it. Ben just plays a Forest, and passes. Sammy's got a Clifftop Retreat for turn, hitting Jan for 1 with a Guide, and passing. Jan draws, plays a Verdant Catacombs, and sacrifices it, losing 1 to find an overgrown tomb, taking 2 more so it comes in untapped. He then uses his mana for 3 visits, going to find a commercial district, and surveilling as it comes in after he's done shuffling. Max plays a Great Furnace, and pays 2 for a tapped Fire Diamond. Ben's turn has him playing a Forest, and casting an Ilsean Carotid, and passing. Sammy draws and plays a Secluded Courtyard, naming humans. Jan draws, plays a Shifting Woodlands, and then casts Enduring Vitality. Max's turn has him playing an untapped Sacred Foundry as well, taking 2, and then has enough mana for a Thousand Moon Smithy. He makes a Gnome token that functions similarly to Urza's Constructs as it comes in, and passes. Ben's got a Mishra's Factory, and pays 2 for Quest for Renewal. He then plays one of my favorite underdog green cards with Gaia's Touch, and let me know what your favorite pet card in your current deck is in the comments below. He passes after that. Sammy plays a City of Brass and casts Aragorn. He gains a life and an energy from the guide as he comes in, and passes. Jan's got a Swamp and casts Venom, Lethal Protector. He then swings him at Max, and sacrifices the Enduring Vitality to it on attack. The Vitality comes back as an enchantment, and Venom's trigger puts an Ignoble Hierarch into play after Jan draws 3 cards. Venom then connects, and Jan then passes. Max plays Kazul's Cliffs, and then casts Knuckles. He swings Knuckles at Jan, and the Gnome at Sammy, and neither of them block. This has Jan taking 4, and Sammy taking 6, and Max makes 3 treasure tokens thanks to Double Strike from Knuckles. He then uses them to help cast Basilisk Collar, and passes. Ben just plays a Reliquary Tower, and casts a Darkskilled Juggernaut, shipping it after that. Sammy's main phase has him casting 4th Ireliness, putting 2 into the X, and Aragorn deals 3 to Ben, and makes Sammy a 1/1 token. He gains a total of 3 life and 3 energy from the Soldier and the Knight tokens coming in. Going to combat, Sammy sends Aragorn at Max, and pays 3 energy to give him 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter. Max then takes a hit to the face, and Sammy also becomes the Monarch. He then passes, drawing from being the Monarch during his end step. Jan draws and plays Volrath's Stronghold, and pays 3 for a Garruk's Uprising. He draws as it enters, and then warps in a Germinating Worm. He gains 2 as it comes in, and draws a card, and then goes to combat, swinging Venom at Sammy. On attack, he sacrifices the worm to draw 5, and puts Atsushi into play. Sammy then takes the hit for 6. This is Jan becoming the Monarch, and he passes, drawing during his end step. Max draws for turn, and at the beginning of his pre-combat main phase, taps 5 artifacts to transform his smithy, and it becomes Barracks of the Thousand. Max then plays a Mountain, and casts Ragost using the Barracks, which makes him another Gnome token. Max then follows up with Chiscoria, and going to combat, swings a Gnome token at Jan, Chiscoria at Sammy, and Knuckles at Ben. Jan chumps with Atsushi, while Ben and Sammy take the damage. With Atsushi hitting the graveyard, Jan makes 3 treasure tokens. Max resolves the Chiscoria trigger first, hitting a Nexus of Becoming, which Max then casts. And he also makes 4 treasures of his own. Max then puts the Basilisk Collar onto his Gnome token, and passes. Ben's got a Temple of the False God, and casts Findhorn Elves. He then plays Monstrous Vortex, and swings a Darksteel Juggernaut at Sammy since it has to attack. Sammy blocks with the Guide of Souls, and Ben then passes. Sammy draws and Ben untaps all of his creatures with Quest for Renewal having been completed. Sammy then plays a Aragorn Triome, and he casts Helena and Elena. This triggers Aragorn for the red and the green, and Sammy hits Jan for 3 with the damage, and pumps Aragorn with +4/+4, and Sammy then goes to combat. He puts the Helena and Elena counter onto the Guide of Souls, and then sends Aragorn at Jan. Jan takes the hit, and Sammy gets back the Monarchy, passing and drawing during the end step. Jan's turn has him drawing and playing a Bloodstained Mire, and cracks it, losing 1 for a mountain. He then casts Persist on Shadow of Mortality, and follows that up by casting Diabolic Intent, sacrificing the Ignoble Hierarch. He tutors for a card to hand, and then goes to combat. He swings Venom at Ben. This has Jan sacrificing the Shadow of Mortality, and gets to put a Bygone Colossus onto the field after drawing a bunch. Ben then takes the hit for 5. In his post-combat main phase, Jan then casts a Diamond Weapon for the reduced cost, then a Soul Ring, and then warps in Anti-Causal Vestige. Moving to his end step, Jan then exiles a Vestige at the end of turn, drawing a card, and then puts Avenger of Zendikar into play off the trigger. Max plays a Power Depot, and then casts a Thopter Shop. Having tapped the barracks, he gets to make a Gnome token, and he then swings the Construct Gnome at Jan, and Knuckles and Chisgoria at Ben. With Chisgoria attacking, Max exiles his top 5, one of which is an unidentified hover ship. Ben then activates Mishra's Factory to bring the Darksteel Juggernaut to a 2/2 and blocks Knuckles. Jan and Ben then take the rest though. After combat, Max then casts the hover ship and exiles the Avenger of Zendikar. He then moves the Basilisk Collar to Ragost. He then sacrifices a treasure with Ragost as a food to ping each opponent for 3, gaining 9 life. He then passes turn, and because he gained 3 life, gets to untap Ragost. Ben draws and animates Mishra's Factory, and then casts Swiftfoot Boots. He's then able to cast Ghalta, and hits a Momentous Fall off the Monstrous Rage trigger. Ben doesn't really want to sacrifice his commander right now, and puts it to hand, and then sacrifices Gaia's Touch to make 2 green, and pays 1 to move the boots onto Ghalta. He then goes to combat. He swings the Juggernaut at Max, who blocks with a Gnome, and Ben passes. Sammy draws, playing at a Dreamroot Cascade, and then casts the villain, Oko. He gives Helena and Elena the buff from Aragorn, and scries 2 as his Planeswalker resolves. He then casts Adeline. Sammy then uptakes Oko on Ragost, and Max responds by sacrificing the hover ship as a food token, pinging his opponents for 3 each and gaining 9 more. With the hover ship pit in the yard, Jan gets to manifest Dread. Sammy then moves to combat and puts the Helena and Elena's trigger on Aragorn. He then swings the flying Aragorn at Max, and uses the Guide of Souls ability to put more counters onto his commander. Everyone blocks the tokens from Adeline, but Max unfortunately gets taken out from commander damage in the air. Sammy then passes turn. Jan draws and puts Junji on top of his library with the Volrath Stronghold, and then casts Ashnod's Altar. He then taps a bunch of plant tokens to help cast Anti-Causal Vestige from exile, and then follows up with a Mayhem Devil. Jan then swings Venom at Sammy, sacrificing the Vestige on attack. The Mayhem Devil pings a soldier token, and Venom puts Junji into play, and the Vestige puts the Archon of Cruelty into play as it goes away. The Archon trigger in turn targets Sammy, and Sammy loses 3, discards a card and sacrifices a creature, while Jan gains 3 and draws a card. Sammy then blocks Venom with his 2 Knight tokens and takes 1. Jan then sacrifices a treasure token, pinging Sammy for 1, and uses that mana for Zuafit. He then activates Zuafit, thanks to Anger being in his graveyard, to bring back the Shadow of Mortality as a skeleton with no abilities. He passes after that. Ben draws and casts Mossed Bridge Troll, hitting Skullspore Nexus off the Discover, which we realized after the game was a bit of a goof, but thankfully, trust me, it doesn't affect anything. After that, Ben passes. Sammy draws, playing a training center, and goes to combat. He puts the Helena and Elena trigger on Adeline, and sends Adeline, Helena and Elena, and Aragorn at Jan. The Guide of Souls triggers goes on Adeline, and before blocks, Sammy casts Akroma's Will. In response, Jan pays 4 life to cast Snuff Out for its alternate cost, targeting Adeline. Sammy responds to this with And They Shall Know No Fear, naming Human. Jan responds to that response by casting Infernal Grasp, targeting Adeline, and then casts Assassin's Trophy and targets Aragorn. He gets a bunch of Mayhem Devils from sacrificing his Saprolines and treasures for mana, and he's able to ping down Helena and Elena, and the Adeline token, and Sammy's attack mostly fizzles except for the token going at Ben. Ben does take 4 though, and Sammy upticks Oko in his second main phase, targeting the Ashnod's Altar. With the ability on the stack, Jan casts Heroic Intervention. Sammy then passes, and during the end step, Ben taps his creatures, pumping his Moss Bridge Troll to be +20/+20, and then casts a Momentous Fall, gaining 25 life and drawing 25 cards. Jan draws, and taps Junji for black, and sacrifices it to Ashnod's Altar to get back Sidisi, losing 2. With Sidisi coming in, Jan floats a black and then exploits herself, and he tutors for a card. Jan then warps into Saurian Voidborn. He continues by floating a black with the Archon of Cruelty, and sacrifices it to the Ashnod's Altar, and then sends the Voidborn and Mayhem Devil triggers at Ben. Jan then casts Dread Return, bringing back the Archon, and puts the ETB trigger at Ben. He then sacrifices the Archon again to Ashnod's Altar, and then sacrifices 3 Saprolines to bring it back with the Dread Return, pointing all the Voidborn and Mayhem Devil triggers at Ben. The second Archon trigger hits Ben again, and Jan then warps into Wefstalker Ardent. Jan then goes to combat, and sends 4 creatures at Sammy, and sacrifices the Shadow of Mortality to Venom. The Venom trigger draws him a bunch of cards, and puts to field a Goblin Bombardment, and the Archon's on attack trigger goes at Ben. Sammy can't block enough and gets taken out, and Jan then sacrifices the rest of his creatures to the Goblin Bombardment and finishes off Ben, winning the game. Game review time. So unfortunately this was the last game with Jan. We only got 3 in that time and 2 shorts, which you've probably already seen by now. And yeah, I'd say the strongest card this game was Venom. He was applying pressure, drawing Jan cards, and cheating out creatures. It was awesome. Ben's Ghalta tech is more vehicle focused, and it was kind of a shame that he didn't get to showcase it really well. Typically he uses the vehicles to crew themselves, which allow him to cheat out Ghalta very early, and that just didn't happen. Sammy's Aragorn deck was surprisingly powerful, and taking max out with commander damage is awesome. And I loved seeing Ragost going off with I thought Ragost going off with that Basilisk color was super spicy. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.